Hi, you're listening to Vocally Annotated. My name's Sarika and this is episode 2. This is very exciting for me to be sat here actually doing it. I haven't chickened out yet. This episode I have two major things to talk about. One is academic and in line with the route I would like to take this podcast in the future. And then one is a more lifestyle thing that I touched on in the first episode, but I thought I would update. I want to say you guys. There are no listeners yet. You guys on. So, the first thing, the Disso update. So, I am doing a Master's in Law. It's actually a law conversion course, which is very exciting. So, I did history as an undergraduate. That was a few years ago, and now I'm switching to law, hence the law conversion course. And this particular course that I'm doing also happens to be a Master's in Law. So it's like a 2-for-1 bonus for me. And I'm very excited. I'm enjoying it very much. It's been very interesting to see how different history is compared to law and also how similar it is. It's like I've kind of learned the same thought patterns, but I still have to learn and adapt them because they're not 100% there. So I'm doing a Master's in Law and it's come round to dissertation season. It didn't start with the academic calendar like most Masters do. And I found out today, the day of recording this, that my Disso idea got approved. I've been given a supervisor and I'm very, very excited. So my dissertation is going to be on sustainable fashion and how we can regulate that. And my particular interest is textiles. I mean, a bit of backstory in that. So when I was a kid, I've always been very drawn to sewing and knitting and things like that. I mean, my daddy ma taught me how to knit when I was like 7, 8. I want to say 8. 8 sounds right. So I've done it on and off since then until at the end of 2019. So in time for 2020. I was already in this knitting phase where it was my hobby of the moment. And so in learning a lot about wool, I learned a lot about different types of fabrics, fibers, textiles, their properties, how they're made. I went really in depth to the point that I read a book on the American wool industry. I think it's called Vanishing Wool. I will leave the name in the show notes below. Or Vanishing Fleece, something like that. But it's by like the wool lady, the American wool lady, Clara Parks, I think her name. I don't remember enough of it. But it was a really great read and it taught me so much about wool. So I have an interest in textiles anyway. And so I'm combining that with my Master's in Law to look at laws to regulate the different fibers and fabrics that we use in our clothes, specifically in the fast fashion industry. So in New York, a group of campaigners have been trying to get the Fashion Act passed, and the Fashion Act would force these companies to be more upfront and disclose these kinds of things. Like, I mean, we already have labels that mean you have to disclose the fabric composition, but I think it's more of the supply chain. And in the UK, there was a bill that they tried to get passed in the session 2022 to 2023, I think. I'm remembering these things all off the top of my head. They're written down in my notes, so it's there. I just don't remember it right now while I'm recording this. But suffice to say, neither of these pieces of legislation have been passed. And so my dissertation is going to be looking at comparing them and figuring out why they haven't passed, or like rather analysing why they haven't passed and giving recommendations, because that's a thing you do in law essays, which you don't do in history essays. In the history essays there are no recommendations to give, but in law there is. So that is going to be my dissertation. At least that's the direction my dissertation is taking for now. It's very exciting and I'm very excited to see how it develops. It's really cool that I've been able to combine these two interests of mine like this and be able to talk about sustainable fashion in this dissertation. So hopefully going forward, as I actually start to dive into this topic, more of this podcast is going to be about my dissertation and the things I learn along the way. And yeah, I'm very excited. I really love fashion, so I'm very excited to be able to bring it into another sphere and be able to analyze it from a different perspective, particularly with such an academic focus. Like, I love this side of it, so this is really exciting for me. The second thing I wanted to talk about in this episode was my perfume journey. So last week I mentioned that my perfume smells like ass on me now, so I had to find a new one, and I wanted to talk through that. My first big girl perfume was Chloe by Chloe, but I'm more of a jasmine and white floral kind of girl. So as much as I loved Chloe, and it was funny because one of my best friends at the time said that she'd started to, like, she associated Chloe with me when she smelled on other people, and I was like, that's nice, but that's not me. So I love jasmine and sandalwood. There's a bit of a running joke in my family because they're the two scents I really gravitate towards the most. And in 2016 I started wearing Chanel Coco Mademoiselle. If you look on Fragrantica, yeah, I think I'm saying that right, like the top notes, it says that like the main note you get is fruity. It didn't pull fruity on me at all. It pulled very floral, and I loved it. I love white florals other than jasmine, like gardenia, tuberose, lily of the valley. I love that. So I was very happy with Coco Mademoiselle, and so for the last 8 years that has been my scent. And I know it's a very popular perfume to have as like a signature scent, but it suited me so well that multiple people said to me in that time that they smelled it on someone else in public, but it immediately reminded them of me because of how good it smelled me. And so I was like, well, that's a great compliment. And it was the perfect perfume because it went for every single occasion. Until this year, so my dad went to India this summer and he brought me back this bottle of jasmine. Actually, I'll just show you. So if you're watching the video version of this podcast, he brought me back this bottle of perfume oil from Fab India called Rat Ki Rani. And Fab India is a chain in India. It's designed to promote like Indian handicrafts and things, but it's a lot of like very Indian designs. Like some people say it's a bit touristy. Whatever, man. This perfume oil is amazing. It smells just like jasmine. It smells so good. Apparently there's like other notes in here as well, like neroli and lang lang. I don't know, I just smell jasmine and I freaking love it so much. So I really enjoyed this perfume oil since I got it, but since I've been wearing it I've realised how bad Chanel Coco Mademoiselle smells on me in comparison. On the surface, I didn't know that it started not smelling nice on me, but I feel like I knew because I was definitely wearing it less. And I mean, when you spray like a couple of sprays anyway, you can't really tell, or at least I couldn't. But there was one day recently where I was like, no, I want to wear multiple spritzes and I really want to feel perfumed up. And then I was like, oh wait, this is making me kind of borderline want to puke, which is not something I've ever felt from that perfume before, and it was stuck in my throat and it was awful, and I couldn't wait to get home and change my clothes and put those clothes in the wash so I didn't have to deal with that again. And I was like, I don't know what's happened, because that bottle, that was a 100ml bottle that I've had for 2.5 years, and the last 100ml bottle I had before that I'd had for 4 years. So I was like, I don't know what's changed. Clearly, like, my body chemistry just does not react well with this perfume at all. No idea, like, out of the blue. And so, in the spirit of making the tweaks and adjustments, now that I'm 28 and improving my life, I was like, cool, let me go find a bottle of jasmine perfume that smells like this Rat Ki Rani perfume oil that I can actually buy here, because you can't get Fab India here. So I went on Reddit to source some options, and one of the options that was suggested was this. This is Rasasi's Layakawam. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. Jasmine Wisp. But to continue on how I got to this perfume. So yes, I saw it mentioned in a Reddit comment because I'd never heard of it before. So I was like, oh, let's check it out. And I did. And I ordered a sample because I was like, I don't want to buy a whole bottle of perfume and then I don't like how that smells on me either. But the sample took like 2 weeks to arrive. And in that time, I got impatient and just bought the whole bottle, which I wouldn't recommend. But it worked out very well for me because now I love this stuff. I think the name Jasmine Wisp is really misleading. I guess this is going to turn into a mini fragrance review because I've been watching so many of these. So basically, since discovering that post with the recommendations, I fell down the rabbit hole of fragrance, perfume subreddits. So I've been having a blast learning a lot about perfume. Although I actually went into it wanting to learn more about perfume and learn how to smell things and how to appreciate perfume. So far those subreddits are very much like, you need to smell this and you need like people with their big fragrance collections and stuff. And now I want to smell a lot of things and I want to buy a lot of perfumes, but it's not helping me in the education side. So, but like I said, I really fell down a rabbit hole and I didn't actually realise that aspect of it until just now. But yes, in terms of a fragrance review, so as I said, I really love jasmine, I really love sandalwood. This does not really have either. I mean, it has white florals, but they're a very mild note compared to all the other stuff going on. So it starts out very fruity and very vanilla-y. And I always thought I hated vanilla. I've never been drawn to vanilla in anything. But this vanilla is really nice. It's not birthday cake vanilla. It's very... I don't even know how to describe it. I've seen it described as like bourbon vanilla. So a bit more like spicy than sickly sweet. But I absolutely love it on me. I have sprayed this on myself before bed just so that I can appreciate that vanilla note again, because by the time it's dried down in the evening, the vanilla smell in particular isn't as strong. And I have never done that with any other fragrance ever, even with the jasmine oil, the Raat Ki Rani. I don't put that on myself before I go to bed so I can smell nice. So I don't know what magic crack is in this stuff, but it's amazing. So yes, it starts out very fruity, very vanilla, and then it dries down into this amber spicy skin with the slightly spiced vanilla with a floral note. So there are white florals in here. They don't say what those white florals are. They don't say whether it's jasmine or not. It's just white floral. But it does add a very subtle note, I would say, to the vanilla and the amber, and that's really like what the dry down is, and those are the base notes, so that makes sense. But it's just a really lovely perfume. I think it's converted me to vanillas, and now when I smell a vanilla perfume, I'm like, oh, that's not disgusting, and I actually kind of like this. So at the moment, I'm very happy with this being my everyday fragrance. I would like to find the jasmine sandalwood combo for when I really want to feel that, because I do appreciate it so much. I would put some on right now, but I already have Jasmine Wisp on. And that's another thing, okay? Jasmine Wisp is strong. That shit is strong. I can put it on after I shower, and I will smell it the next morning when I wake up. And actually, yesterday, when I showered, I scrubbed the area where I applied the perfume. You could still smell it after that. It was very faint, but you could smell the traces of the perfume. And personally, I like strong fragrance, so I'm okay with that, but I know not everyone is, so just be mindful. But yeah, that has been my fragrance journey recently over the last couple of weeks, and I really went into it wanting to learn more about perfume and learn how to appreciate perfume and identify all the different notes and stuff, like kind of how you would learn about wine. And I only just realised now through sitting down and doing this that I didn't achieve that, because that's not really the goal of the subreddits from what I've seen, at least the main ones. So that's something I'm going to look into. God knows when, because now I've got Dissertation to start prepping for, but at some point I would really like to learn more about that. I've never had the most sensitive nose, and I really think it's a skill you can learn, because more than being able to identify the notes, from my understanding, if you know what you're talking about, then you can identify why a particular smell makes you feel a particular way and what's creating that. There was a really good example in the perfume episode of one of my favourite podcasts, Articles of Interest, which I will link in the show notes below. So that's everything for this episode of Vocally Annotated. I hope you enjoyed it, and I will be back next week.